Why in the hell did I spend all of this money on these crankbaits that will never work in these colors? I didn't know what I was doing. If anyone catches them on that translucent lipless, holler at me. Debunk my theory here, but here's the deal. Hard baits are really a unique lure if we're talking about color. Now, color, when you're catching them really good, doesn't seem to matter all that much, but when you're not catching them is when it matters. Now, every bait moves through the water a little bit differently. A square bill, it's got really intense action, so it's coming through there and it's kicking and doing all these things. Square bill colors and lipless colors, or these grass crankbaits. This is a 6-cent Swank, similar to a Strike King Hybrid Hunter. The colors really need to be different. There's some colors in this that don't work in this, and there's lots of colors in this that don't work in this, and the same goes for this. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to spend a bunch of money on baits that you don't need. Good baits, but colors that you don't need. And they don't tell you that because we all need to buy one of each for this industry to really rock and roll. But some of these colors just are unnecessary, and you see they get discontinued and things like that. And it took me a long time to learn this. But you got to look down in the water when your bait's coming back to the boat to really understand what colors are going to work in what situations. And I'm looking at this. This will be my first example, the Lipless Crankbait. Now, it comes back to the boat. This is a slow motion version, but it comes back to the boat like this. Now, you can see this. This is a chrome and blue Lipless Crankbait. Now, it's reflecting a lot of light. Its chrome color is very popular for this bait. It comes in all different types. You have that gold chrome, you have like a dark gold chrome, and then they even get into all different kinds where like there's this different finish on it. Reflection in a lipless crankbait is very important because the way that bait moves through the water, it's just sitting there reflecting. If I'm fishing in sun where you have a bright day, maybe a day with some clouds, but the sun is shining through most of the day, a chrome, a gold, dark gold, one of these chrome and blacks, chrome and blues, it's one of the best colors to throw because it's reflecting, and that's for a lipless. But the wild thing that I always wondered for a long time, not anymore, but for a long time I was thinking, well, why don't they make a square bill in a chrome? Well, if you look at the way a square bill comes through the water, I mean, it's kicking and going all over the place. The side of the bait is never really sitting there reflecting. It's too erratic. It's too wild. So there's no need. I mean, I think they do make one, but it's just not a good color for a crankbait. The next option is one of these more recently becoming popular baits, the Swank. It's like the Hybrid Hunter from Strike King. It has a real subtle action. It's not going all over the place. It's coming through, and it's almost has very similar action to the lipless, but I think they can even see it better than a lipless. So when it comes to a bait like this is going to be more your jerk bait hues. But one trump card in this whole situation is the color red. Red in the springtime is just one of those colors. Now, I prefer it on a cloudy day, but it works because the fish get so keyed in on that red color that if they're eating it really good, that's what you need to be throwing over everything else. So red works in this, even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They just get so keyed in on that red. Red works in this. Like I said, it's a trump card. Red works in this. Can't believe I just threw that on the ground. That is an absolute antique. Seems to be okay. It's an absolute antique. But my point is look in the water and watch the way your bait comes back to the boat. Then you'll start thinking, okay, I need to get some natural colors. I need to get some really flamboyantly bright colors. And then I need to get something that's going to be in between. Well, that's what I do with lipless fishing. I'm going to have my reds. Just told you how important those are. And then I'm going to use the sun on days where I have sun to make these baits work in it even better than they already work. And then in between those days, depending on the water clarity, is when I'm going to be having my more whites and more natural colors. So a little dirtier water, tannic colored water, stained water, lots of white, a little bit of yellow in there, bluish grayish back. And then if the water's green or clear, there's 1.5 foot, 2.5 feet of visibility, I'm going with a more natural print. This is just a kind of a, I think the color is called tilapia, but it's just a more subtle blue, not so bright white, kind of more tannish colored, and that's more my clear water. So those are all my in-betweens on the lipless. And this bait, I'm still learning this thing, but it's kind of in that same ballpark. Obviously, the red's really important, but we're going more jerk bait style colors because it's the way the fish can see it. You know, when a jerk bait, from what we learned from forward-facing sonar, is that those fish really key in on it, and they sit there and they look at it. They watch it. A bait like this, they're not watching it. They're trying to eat it as fast as they can. They might chase it back to the boat, but they're not sitting there just staring at it. They're trying to eat it. So when I learned this about hard baits, and I was like, oh, I'll just go get my favorite colors in the square bills and the lipless, and then I have them in my box for years, and I've never caught anything on them. It's finally dawned on me that the way the fish looks at the bait is really important on the color. And like I said, when you are catching them, color might not be the biggest factor. But when you're not catching them, color may be the biggest factor. So look at your bait in the water. Let me know how this works for you guys, and I'll see you out there.